Welcome to an introduction to dementia for support services for seniors. What do you think of when you think about people with dementia? Here are some of the common words that come to mind for people. Did you think of any of these? Both the person living with dementia and their support people can feel scared and alone. Many people are uncomfortable around people with dementia because they don't understand it and they don't know how to act. The first step on the road to working with people with dementia is to really understand what's happening. So let's start by looking at what exactly dementia is. Dementia is not one disease, it's a collection of symptoms affecting the brain. It affects thinking, behavior, and the ability to do things. There are hundreds of causes of dementia. 4 of the most common are shown here. They are Alzheimer's disease, Lewy body dementia, vascular dementia, and frontotemporal dementia. The different types of dementia present differently from each other, and the same type of dementia may look different in different people. But despite these differences, we can use the same approaches and tools when working with all people with dementia. It's also very important to understand that dementia is not a normal part of aging, although it becomes more common as we age. It affects 1 in 20 people over the age of 65 and 1 in 4 people over the age of 85. But this does mean that 3 out of 4 people over the age of 85 do not have dementia. Although for many people, changes in memory are some of the first signs, it's really important to understand that dementia is not just memory problems. You've probably heard of kidney failure or heart failure. Dementia is also organ failure. The organ that's failing is the brain. Brain failure means that there's a loss of brain mass, neurons, and brain chemicals. The brain of a person with dementia can shrink to 1/3 of the brain's healthy size, with enlargement of the ventricles and shrinking of the cortex. Consider that, 1/3 of the brain. It's actually amazing that people can do as much as they can sometimes. These changes mean that the connections in the brain are likely to misfire. Sometimes a connection might work, but other times it won't. This is why memory, behavior, and reactions might change from day to day or even hour to hour. Some people think that this fluctuation in memory or behavior is manipulative and on purpose, but that's not true. It's because of changes in brain function. But these changes are just the beginning. Understanding what's happening in the brain of a person with dementia is even more complicated than shrinkage. The first part of your brain to develop is the limbic system. This is the part of the brain responsible for survival drive. Fight, flight, fright responses are driven from this part of the brain. There may be changes to this area, but it's often one of the most active parts of the brain late into dementia. The frontal lobe plays a large role in regulating our behavior and decisions. In dementia, a decrease in function of the cerebral cortex and the frontal lobe means that for many people, the survival instincts of the limbic system are the most dominant part of the brain. When a person's feelings and behavior are driven by survival impulses, they might exhibit a strong need for comfort, sexual impulses, and strong fear reactions. With a healthy brain, we can use the cortex to assess actual threat level and choose to respond calmly. We choose appropriate behaviors because the frontal lobe is able to tell the amygdala or limbic system to calm down. For many people with dementia, this doesn't work. Instead, they may have a fear response in situations where we don't think that they're in danger. All of these commonly seen behavioral symptoms of dementia, and many more, can be connected to these brain changes. If someone is easily upset or suspicious or trying to get away or questioning, they're telling us that they feel unsafe, uncomfortable, or threatened in some way. We must understand that behavior is a form of communication. All behavior has meaning. We need to figure out what they're trying to tell us and help them to feel safe. There are a couple more brain changes that I'll mention. Because of the brain failure, there are also changes to the visual field for people with dementia. In an effort to conserve resources, the brain processes less peripheral vision and focuses more on what's directly in front. You can simulate this by placing your hands like binoculars in front of your eyes like the people in this photo. Now take a look around. This can have a huge impact on how someone with dementia experiences the world. They may not see things that are right in front of them. They may not know that someone is there and may not be ready to be touched. It can appear to them that people are jumping out at them even if that's not the intention. These add to feelings of being afraid or surprised, and it's up to us to change our approach. Another change that comes with dementia is a loss of ability to find words. People might actually substitute the wrong word, be at a loss for words, or have retained inappropriate words and use them more often. Swear words are stored and used differently in the brain, and often people will lose their regular words but still have inappropriate ones. This can be very upsetting to the people around them. It feels very personal when someone is using swear words, racial slurs, or other nasty names. It's very hard to remember that this is brain changes and not intentional or personal. Hearing, however, is not particularly affected by dementia. This is important to know because you should not assume that someone needs to be spoken to in a loud voice. If they're not hard of hearing, this can be very frustrating. If they're having trouble understanding you, talking louder is not always the answer. With so much lost, you need to know what tools you can use to communicate with and help people with dementia. So what remains? Long ago memories may be clearest for many people. Losses often start with the most recent memory. This is why they may not recognize people or even themselves and may think that departed family members are still alive. Emotional memories, even new ones. If someone has had a bad experience or a good one, they may not remember the details of the experience, but they will remember how they felt and then feel that way again when a similar situation occurs. Nonverbal communication. Well into dementia, people pick up on nonverbal communication. This can include welcoming, caring, respectful communication, as well as body language and tone of voice that make them feel disrespected and treated like a child. They will also respond to body language and speech that make them feel valued and important. Procedural or motor memory may remain. Often, once you help a person to get started on a motor task, they may be able to pick up on it and keep going, even if they wouldn't have initiated it on their own. The ability to use social cues and rituals, like shaking hands, waving, and please and thank you, are ingrained in us from an early age. We can use these tools to connect and normalize our interactions with people with dementia. The ability to point or use gestures to try and explain something may remain, although the words may be hard to express. We can use these tools to help them be understood. Automatic speech, chit-chat, and turn-taking. Feeling normal and important is essential. Even if the words or understanding are not there, feeling a part of the world by participating in automatic speech and chit-chat and having people respond as though one is important can have a substantial impact on well-being. The gift of music and song remain. People will respond to music and song and other rhythmic comforts like poetry and prayer, particularly if they were important to that person throughout their lives. We can use this to calm and comfort, or even as a tool to get people to work with you. And their history. Although a lot might change for a person with dementia, we must remember that their history remains. Knowing about them, asking about preferences, and treating people as individuals who have value is key to interacting and providing care. All of these are things that we can use when working with and communicating with people with dementia. In the next video, we'll explore just how.